Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Riser Fall to talk a little Thursday night football. The Miami Dolphins are playing against the Cincinnati Bengals in what should be an outstanding game, and I'm just talking about the color rush jersey. Cincinnati looks to be wearing all white with black numbers and all that. That is going to be great. There's a few storylines I want to mention here. We all know how Tua's been, and I'm sure we've all seen that graphic. The last, what was it? The last 10 games the Miami has played and Tua started in. They're 9-1. They're rolling. Are they for real? Cincinnati, can they get out of the slum house or the doghouse and get it going back to AFC championship form? I don't know. But what we're going to do is go through this game from an individual standpoint. Hang around. I'll be right back. Hey, and here we are back at it. Once again, I am Chris, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Riser Fall. Talk a little Thursday night football action. As I said, the Cincinnati Bengals are hosting the Miami Dolphins. Tua, Tyreek Hill, all them guys over there. Before I get into the game from an individual DFS statistical standpoint, yes, I've had a couple cups of coffee this morning, so I feel my vocabulary is a little bit stronger than normal if it was later on in the day. Give my brain some time to wake up here. Before I get into all that, make sure you go to the website at Team Riser Fall. You can type it in on your browser. When you get there, use promo code Beastie. You'll get $10 off your first month of premium services. And given the fact that baseball is still rolling, right? Hockey preseason is going with hockey. That's going to be back around soon, and it's only week 4 of the NFL season, so there is never not a good time to join up and hang here. And when you do, you could find me in the Discord, which is free, but they offer some premium services there at the website: rankings, projections, the work, study hub, pivot tools. I mean, this could be just a video promo for the website here, but I know you came, you want to talk football. I want to talk football, so let's get after it. Miami is at Cincinnati this evening. Kickoff is at about 8:15. Thursday Night Football is now an Amazon Prime kind of event. I know the last few weeks the audio's been fine, but the video's been hazy. I said, is it my TV? I had to reset it. Regardless, we are in for one heck of a game. When we look at this one, Miami is 3-0 so far, and they've looked tough, right? Miami took their first lead of the game last week on a 2-yard touchdown by Chase Edmonds. So is he going to be in play? I'm not too sure. Let's talk about it. And then Cincinnati, they've stumbled out of the gate, and they're trying to get some momentum rolling, as I said in the opening. Joe Burrow, Tua, what more do you want? Let's talk about this thing, and we're going to start with the quarterbacks. On FanDuel, at least, again, these are all flex prices. On FanDuel, you could put a guy in the MVP spot, and the price tags are the same. On DraftKings, that's where we have an issue. There's flex pricing, there's captain pricing, so I give it to y'all flat, just a flex price tag. Let's look at Tua. He is questionable for this game. The Q tag, follows around a lot of folks, but Tua is going to be active tonight. On FanDuel, he's $15,000 even, and on DraftKings, he's $9,400. One thing I will say, the Cincinnati Bengals, as of right now, they're third overall DVP, defense versus player matchup here, but when you look at Tua, this guy is, I don't know. I mean, I know there's a large portion of Miami Dolphins fans, right? Some are hidden, some come out of the cracks. Same thing goes for all teams that, start to win again after large, slumps. I mean, look at the Lions so far, but there's nothing to come out of the cracks with the Lions. When we look at Tua here, I have an idea that we're going to see. Let me break out my notes because I have them here. I'm thinking we see, 19 to 20 completions, like 230-ish yards, something along those lines. He's going to take the ball, and scramble a few times, nothing crazy. And I do think that he finds the end zone both in the air and on the ground tonight. It's going to be a matter of how much can he get away with before Cincinnati makes adjustments. Maybe it's after halftime, maybe it's in the third quarter, but whenever it hits, Tua's going to be in for a rough night, right? But it's only going to last for like a quarter or two, and it's up to Cincinnati and their head coach to make adjustments on the fly, which winning teams do. Cincinnati last year, they won. I'm just looking down at my notes here, and let's move on. Let's talk about Joe Burrow. I know a lot of folks love this kid, drafted him in Superflex leagues. He hasn't been the guy we thought he'd be. Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, all these guys here, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I'm just naming off the roster to fill time, it seems like. But no, Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, he's 15-5 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's $9,600. When we look at Burrow tonight, I think he finds some not room to run, but I think he finds some holes, some massive holes in the Miami secondary, seeing as how their secondary is 32nd. Last I checked, I haven't used this one in a long time. Last I checked, there's only 32 teams in the NFL. So Cincinnati's dead last against defending opposing quarterbacks. That's why I think Joe Burrow doesn't go off. I mean, what's your definition of going off? 4 or 5, like a Josh Allen type of thing, or a Patrick Mahomes kind of thing? I think Joe Burrow goes off, has his best game of the season so far. We're looking at like two, maybe a trio of touchdown passes just based on the DVP. That's just like as an not an outsider looking in, but any DFS rookie or newbie can see that on paper and they go, hey, I want in on that. Let's talk about the running backs here. Not much. It's a weird occurrence here with running backs this evening because, like, aside from Joe Mixon, there's no like real RB1 in Miami. They spread the ball out. Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill get some carries in this one. But on the Miami side of things, I'm going to fade the running game right here. And when you look at the Cincinnati in defending opposing running backs, they're 13th. So I mean, you could say top 10, top 12, but they're just outside the bubble at 13th here. On the flip side, when we look at the Cincinnati Bengals, it's got to be all about Joe Mixon. When you look at him, 12 grand on FanDuel, and on DraftKings, Joe Mixon is $9,000 across the board. When we look at the DVP matchup here, Joe Mixon, Miami is about 10th or 11th overall in defending opposing running backs. And if we rewind it back, I'm not going to pull a Jim Carrey and go rip, 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 where we go back like Ace Ventura here, but I have this sneaking suspicion here that Joe Burrow and these touchdown passes and the DVP, that the head coaches in Cincinnati know this, and they're going to want to set up some sort of running game in order for the passing game to work, right? And in some cases, that's just football 101, but in some cases, you need to take that with a grain of salt, or in some cases, you need to really utilize that, to get your wide receivers rolling. And when you look at Cincinnati and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd here, you don't really need to do that. I mean, you can just heave the ball up to Chase and he'll do his thing, but I realistically think Joe Mixon gets a handful of carries, a handful of targets, like a half handful of targets in the passing game, and he does well, and that's going to open it up for the passing game here. And normally in these single game slate videos, I have these weird outlandish ideas. We saw how well it was on Monday night to fading CD Lamb here, but I did have the final score off a point on both sides, 24-17. I believe the final was 23-16 here. So even aside from the outlandish ideas and the silliness here, there is a glimpse of hope when we go over this stuff from a player perspective. When we look at the wide receivers, it's got to be all about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the Miami side of things. But right now, Cincinnati 4th overall in defending opposing wide receivers. And a lot of, I won't say a lot of Tua's success, I'll say a lot of the Miami Dolphins' success so far has been tied to the addition of Tyreek Hill. The emergence, breakout of second-year guy like Jalen Warren here. When you look at Hill, 14 grand on FanDuel, Jalen Waddle, 13.5 on FanDuel. I mean, it's a ton of money, but hey, it's worth it. On DraftKings, Tyreek Hill is $10,800. Waddle is $10,200. And at least I know if a player is questionable, he's, and on one side, he's got to be, you can't just be questionable on DraftKings and not on FanDuel here, but I am seeing a Q tag on Jalen Waddle. I got no issue there. He will play, but get this, Cincinnati 4th overall against opposing wide receivers. Again, I keep saying again, they manufacture so much stuff for Tyreek Hill that DVP really doesn't matter, right? I'm telling you, that's been the theme the last few weeks in not only my writing, but the broadcasting here, where DVP will only get you so far. That's like a DFS newbie kind of thing, and I use it on the videos because I don't know. I know a large portion of you folks, followed me for a while. We get together on single game slates, but how often are these videos being seen by a newbie? And I might as well be talking, Spanish or Chinese, and they don't understand here. So to me, Tyreek Hill, DVP never plays a role because of the manufacturedness of his plays that we see here. I'm thinking 7-8 targets, same thing for Jalen Waddle, and it's going to be all in what do they do with them. If I had to choose, I would choose both of them. Again, I'm saying I'm fading the Miami Dolphins running game. Well, then where are we going to get together with Miami? And that's their wide receivers. When we look over to the Cincinnati Bengals side of things in terms of wide receiver, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd here. When we just like a 10,000 foot view, I always say Jamar Chase 13.5 on FanDuel, T. Higgins is 11.5 on FanDuel, and Tyler Boyd is 10 grand on FanDuel. That one's shocking to me. On DraftKings at least, Jamar Chase $11,000, T Higgins is 8-2, and Tyler Boyd 7,000, even there on DK. One thing I like about this one, Miami 24th overall against defending opposing wide receivers here. So Chase is going to get his. It's always been about, well, not always, but the last handful of games or so, even going back to last season, it's all about Jamar Chase and getting him his targets and touches, and then it kind of all falls down from there. But when you look at T Higgins, this kid is a stud in its own right, and it's okay because Burrow is able to support this cast of running backs and wide receivers here. Mainly, I mentioned in bottom of the barrel, I think last week or this week, that look at Carson Wentz. In a way, in Washington, is he supporting 2-3 wide receivers right now? Absolutely. We'll see how long that lasts, but you can expect Jamar Chase 7-8 targets. Man, I'll go 9 or 10 targets for Jamar Chase, 7 or 8 for T, and then whatever trickles down to the end for Tyler Boyd. That's what we're going to get here. When we go through the tight ends, there's not much to see here. What are we going to do? Mike Gesicki, Durham Smythe on the Miami side of things, or on the Cincinnati side of things, Hayden Hurst. And Hayden is a great football player, right? Cincinnati's offensive line is so bad, it's in comparison in a way right now, at least, to San Francisco's in their tight end with their stud guy, George Kittle, where he's a great football player, hard-nosed and tough, but he's going to be asked to block more than normal. So we could see Hayden Hurst on the field a lot more than normal tonight. And, if he can break away, and I'm talking 3-4 targets, and even that's ambitious. If he can break away and they design a play in the red zone where he blocks and falls, gets up and rolls, and nobody accounts for him in the end zone, Hayden Hurst scores a touchdown here. If that happens, we're all gray, because when you look at Hayden Hurst's price tag on DraftKings, FanDuel, Hayden Hurst is, drumroll, $7,000, and on DK, Hayden Hurst is only $5,400. Miami 30th overall against defending opposing tight ends. When we get into this, like at the end game standpoint, like, Chris, what's the final score going to be? You didn't do very much projections for each player. Well, that's because this game, for some odd reason, I don't know if this is going to go over well, but for some odd reason, I have a final score, right? I think Cincinnati wins this one. I know you're going to show up with pitchforks to my home here, but I think Cincinnati wins this one, and they cover the spread, because when you look at it right now, Cincinnati's like -3.5. I think Cincinnati wins by a touchdown or even 8 points, like 27-20, 28-21, something like that. So they will cover. And when we look at, some recent betting trends, Dolphins 4-0 against the spread, their last 4 games overall. That's impressive. Or the Dolphins are, yes. Bengals 7-0 against the spread versus a team with the winning record. Well, that's kind of interesting. Under 5-1 in Miami's last 6 road games. The under is 4-0 in Cincinnati's last 4 games versus a team with a winning record. Well, Bengals play in Miami, they have a winning record. When you look at the Miami side of things against winning record teams, that's not Cincinnati as of right now. Home team in this matchup is 5-0 against the spread the last 5 times. So as I said, Tua, his back is a little bit tender, so we don't know or concussion protocol too. I know that was a bone of contention. He hit his head, stumbled, and 2 plays later he was back in the game. The NFL is going to, investigate that, but Tua will be out there. He will play. And as I said, take Cincinnati to win and cover at home tonight, 28-20. So by 8 points here. And before I split, make sure you go to the website at Team Riser Fall. Use promo code Beastie. You'll get $10 off your first month of premium services. And as the day goes on here, you'll see a little bit more, action from me on social media with graphics and player photos and stuff with projections, because this whole thing, when we read and write and broadcast, it can get a little strenuous here. So thanks for being here, thanks for watching the video, and I will see you soon for College Football Saturday. How about we do that? Until then, bye bye.